Today we are making a German Graubrot or Mischbrot, which is a very, very typical bread in Germany, and it's very, very easy to make. So this is what we need. We need some rye flour, some wheat flour. I actually don't have that much full grain wheat flour left anymore, so I'm gonna use some bread flour here instead. Salt, sourdough starter. I'm actually using some of my discard starter as well, because this is a great bread to add it to. Some water, a bowl, and a scale. Let's get started. The recipe is quite easy. 65% hydration, 2% salt, 50% rye flour, 50% wheat flour, and then roughly 20% sourdough starter. In my case, it's going to be a little bit more because I'm also going to add my discard starter. This means my dough will be more sour than on average, but that's fine because a sour bread can last for a longer time and will not catch mold so fast. I'm going to be using 500 grams of flour to start with. So that's going to be 2% salt equaling 10 grams of salt. Here you need to do a little bit of math, but it's very good because then you can just scale up afterwards. 250 grams of rye flour, 250, perfect. Always love it when you nail the amount almost perfectly. Okay, we'll need another approximately 150 here. Dum, dum, dum. Oh, damn me. This one I screwed up. But no worries. Just take some out again. We want to arrive on that 500. All right. So 65% hydration, I said. That's 60%, 300, 70%. 350, so that's going to be 325 grams of water. I'm using warm water in this case because my sourdough discard starter is cold. And this is going to balance out, but you can just use your room temperature water. The warmer the water, the faster your fermentation process is going to be. It shouldn't be super hot, but you can definitely use like 30 degrees or so. Okay. 325, almost. And now I'm going to add, first of all, this is my regular fat starter. You can see it rose nicely overnight. I'm going to be using 100 grams of this one. This is very, very active. So this is going to be the main driver of fermentation. The bread is also known to be relatively sour, so that's completely normal for this bread. In fact, there are some delivery services in Germany where you can buy this kind of bread, and they just ship it normally via UPS or so, and it stays good for 3 weeks because it's so sour. Interesting. So we're going to be landing at around 40% sourdough starter, including my discard starter. I just don't like throwing my discard starter away. That's why I almost always use it for this bread. All right. Now the boring process starts. We just need to stir it. Since there's almost no, well, there is gluten inside. But we have rye. Rye attacks the gluten more or less. That's why we don't need to do any kneading. We just need to put everything together that it's a homogeneous mass. And now you need to get your hands dirty and do that with your hands. That's it. Now just cover this with some foil. We don't want it to dry out. And now it's all about waiting. The time depends on the temperature that you have. So giving you an exact temperature won't be possible. It also depends on the level of activity of your sourdough starter. Don't get me started, it depends on too many variables. You want to wait approximately until it doubled in size. In my case, with my setup right now, it's around 22 degrees. I added quite some starter. I think it's going to be around 6 hours. So just let it sit there for 6 hours. Let the yeast and let the bacteria do their job. All right, the time has passed. The bread has nicely increased. Look at those nice pockets of air inside. That's excellent fermentation. Now what we need to do is we need to take this, convert this into a bowl, and then place it inside of our banneton. You could also just place it on some kind of tray or so if you want to, then add some parchment paper on top. The banneton is perfect because it's gonna hold the shape. Now this is very sticky, so we need to cover this with some flour. I'm using brown rice flour here. Brown rice flour absorbs a lot of hydration. That way it won't stick here to the banneton. So that's a very good way to prevent sticking. You could also use something with a linen, or you could just use regular flour and then just use a little bit more. So just covering this. I like to put a little bit more because the worst thing that can happen is that it starts to stick. Okay, this is prepared. Put this to the side. Now we're going to flour the surface slightly. For that, I got some extra flour right here. So I'm just flouring the surface like that. And now I need to take this out. This is probably very sticky because this is also a lot of rye. So I'm just gonna be adding some more flour here. Don't worry too much. Normally on other breads you don't want to add any extra additional flour, but here for this bread, that's fine. Now I'm using my hand to tuck this in a little bit on the sides. I'm tucking in the flour. Just until I can finally remove it. Nice. There's a little bit left. I'm just going to take that out too. Put that on here. Now, this is the beauty of this bread. Because it has so much rye, there's not really a lot of shaping that we can do. That's why I always suggest to make this bread as a beginner bread. It's delicious and it's really easy to do. So now all we want to do is we want to take this mess and just convert it into a ball like this. So I'm just rotating this a little bit, and that's it. There's nothing more we can do. That's already the whole bread. Just taking this a little bit more in my hands, rotating this. I'm not pressing it too hard. I'm being very gentle here, right? Okay, and there we go. And now I see there are a few too large cracks. I'm just gonna give this a little bit support by pressing this together like this. But yeah. That's it. Now, cover this with some more foil again, like we did the last time. I'm gonna let this rest now for approximately 1 hour at room temperature. And then afterwards, I'm going to place it in the fridge for another 2 or 3 hours or so. I'm using the fridge because that way I can control when I want to bake it. And the moment the cold gas inside is warmed up, it's going to create a more open crumb structure. So the fridge is always a really great tack when you're baking something. But that's about it. Then I'll show you later on how I bake this one. And here we go with the final product. This is the German Graubrot. And you can see by cutting it like a swirl, we have this nicely looking plateau on top. So it's crunchy, and you can really smell. It smells like a good bread. From the inside, it's a little bit more dense. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial.